Repeated use of difference of squares. Notice again the directions say factor completely. Whenever it says factor completely, it gives me a hint, look for a greatest common factor. 32 and 2 are both divisible by 2. I've got a u squared and a u squared, so I can take out the u squared. They both have that in common. I'm going to divide that out. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. 2 minus 2 leaves me 0 u's. Minus, here I'm going to take out the 2u squared, leaves me just the 4v to, the v to the fourth, the v to the fourth. So the 2 would cancel out, the u squared would cancel out, I get the v to the fourth. Now what should happen is I should get the difference of squares. 16 is a perfect square, v to the fourth is a perfect square. I'm going to factor the difference of squares from FOILing. Factors of 16, 4 and 4. This is a negative, I have a plus and a minus. I want the factors of v to the fourth. V to the fourth would be v squared and v squared because I add my exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4. We get a minus 4v squared and a positive 4v squared, which is the 0 v squareds in the middle, and that's how come that factors. Now we want to keep going because it says we're going to do repeated use of my difference of squares. Now if I try to factor 4 plus v squared, 4 plus v squared, I would say 2 and 2, a plus and a plus, and a v and a v. But if I FOIL that out, I'm going to get 2v plus 2v, which is 4v. I don't have a 4v in the middle. If I have the sum of perfect squares, I can't factor it. There's no way to make it work because I'm always going to get that middle term. So I can't do anything with the one with the plus sign. But the one with the minus sign is the difference of squares again. That one's going to factor a second time. So 2u squared, 4 plus v squared, and then I'm going to have my 2 sets of parentheses. Factors of 4, 2 and 2. Since this is a negative, a plus and a minus, factors of v squared, v and v. Again, you get a negative 2v and a positive 2v, and the 0 then comes up to the middle, and the difference of squares is factored. So they call this the repeated use of difference of squares because I factor it once, and then I end up factoring it a second time using my difference of squares formula. Number 5, again it says factor completely. Look for my greatest common factor. I've got a 2 and an x to the third in both of them. That makes it easy. Taking out the 2 and the x cubed, I get u to the fourth. Minus, here I have to be careful. Think about when you do 2 divided by 2. 2x cubed divided by 2x cubed is 1. There is a number there. It's not a 0. It's a 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. So that if I multiplied it back out, I would get that number. Again, we should get the difference of squares. We do. So we have the 2x cubed. We're going to factor this. Factors of u to the fourth, u to the second, and u to the second. Since this is a negative, one's a plus and one's a minus, factors of 1. Well, there's only way to factor 1. 1 times 1. Again, there's no way you can factor the sum of squares. Will not work as hard as you may try, but we are going to factor that difference of squares a second time. So 2x to the third times u squared plus 1, and then repeating the difference of squares formula. Factors of u squared, u and u. My signs, a plus and a minus. Factors of 1, 1 times 1. So all of that is going to go in for your answer. 2x to the third times u squared plus 1 times u plus 1 times u minus 1. Number 6 is going to be the same kind of thing. Again, it starts out and says factor completely. So in this case, I don't have a number in common because I have an 81 and a 1 that's not written there. But they both have an x to the third in common. So x cubed comes out. If I take the x cubed out of both of those, I get 81 minus u to the fourth. Again, 81 is a perfect square. I've got the difference of squares again. So I'm going to factor. What times what is 81? 9 times 9. A plus and a minus factors a u to the fourth, u to the second, and u to the second. Again, looking at that, the sum of squares will not factor, but the difference of squares factors a second time. So factoring my difference of squares, factors of 9, 3 times 3, I have a plus and a minus, factors of u squared, u and u. All of that goes in for my answer. X to the third times 9 plus u squared times 3 plus u times 3 minus u.